Lease Larry parks his brand new sports car. A few seconds later, Boomer Bill parks his old gray sedan right beside it. Bill, you've been driving that thing for 10 years. Still gets me where I need to go. If you bought something like this, people might finally think you're rich. They already do. What? Let me ask you something. Which one of these two is actually rich? If you pick the sports car, you just made the same mistake millions of people make every single day. Because looking rich and being rich are two very different things. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why looking poor can actually make you richer. Let's go back to Lease Larry. A few years ago, Larry got a promotion at work. Finally, all his hard work was paying off. For the first time in years, he felt like he was getting ahead. But then, something changed. Not his income, not his job, not his life, his expectations. Suddenly, the car he already owned didn't feel good enough anymore. His apartment, which had been perfectly fine the week before, started feeling too small. His phone still worked, his clothes were still good, nothing was broken. And yet, he wanted more. Nothing in Larry's life had actually gotten worse. His expectations had simply gotten bigger. And that's a trap millions of people fall into every single year. The moment they start earning more money, they don't become wealthier. They become more expensive. A nicer car, a bigger house, designer clothes, the latest phone, a luxury watch. Each purchase feels like proof that they've finally made it. But there's a problem. Most of those purchases aren't made to improve life. They're made to improve appearances. The problem is, looking successful and becoming successful are two completely different goals. And confusing the two has quietly kept millions of people from ever building real wealth. At first, none of it feels like a mistake. Larry buys the nicer car. He tells himself, I've earned it. Then comes the larger apartment, a newer phone, better clothes, a nicer vacation. Each decision seems reasonable. By itself. After all, what's one more monthly payment? Then another. And another. Until Larry isn't collecting assets anymore. He's collecting bills. Every raise he gets disappears almost immediately. Not because he's making less money, but because he's spending every dollar before it even reaches his bank account. Economists have a name for it. Lifestyle inflation. As your income grows, your spending quietly grows with it. And here's the dangerous part. Lifestyle inflation doesn't feel irresponsible. It feels normal. Your coworkers are upgrading, your neighbors are upgrading. Social media tells you everyone is upgrading, so you convince yourself you're simply keeping up. But every upgrade comes with something invisible. A higher monthly payment, a bigger insurance bill, more maintenance, more pressure, more stress. One day, Larry looks at his paycheck. It's the biggest paycheck he's ever earned. Yet somehow, he feels poorer than ever. Because being rich isn't about how much money comes in. It's about how much you're able to keep. And that's the difference between earning more money and actually becoming wealthy. Most people looked at Boomer Bill and made a decision within seconds. Old car, simple clothes, an ordinary watch. Nothing about him screamed, I'm wealthy. In fact, most people assume the opposite, even Lease Larry. He couldn't understand why Bill never upgraded, why he never bought the newest car, the bigger house, or the expensive clothes. Then one afternoon, Bart asked Bill a simple question. Is your car paid off? Bill smiled. Years ago. Any credit card debt? None. How about your mortgage? I paid off my house 5 years ago. Larry's smile started to disappear. Bart kept going. Do you have an emergency fund? Enough to cover several years. Retirement investments? I've been investing every month for decades. And how much do you owe? Bill smiled again. Nothing. That's when Larry finally understood. Bill wasn't trying to look poor. He simply stopped caring about looking rich. Because every dollar he didn't spend trying to impress strangers was another dollar quietly building his future. Real wealth is often invisible. It doesn't always drive past you. Sometimes it quietly parks next to you at a traffic light. And that's why the people who look the richest aren't always the wealthiest. Sometimes it's the person driving the old car who has the most freedom of all. There was never anything wrong with Larry wanting a better life. The problem wasn't ambition. The problem was who he was trying to impress. As humans, we naturally compare ourselves to the people around us. Not to billionaires, not to history, to our neighbors, our coworkers, our friends. And today, social media has made that comparison impossible to escape. Every scroll that looks like someone else's highlight reel. A new car, a luxury vacation, a bigger house, a designer outfit. We rarely see the debt, the stress, or the monthly payments behind the picture. Psychologists call this social comparison. We judge our success by comparing it to other people, even when those comparisons make absolutely no sense. That's why someone earning $100,000 a year, they can still feel poor if everyone around them appears to have more. Meanwhile, someone earning much less can feel completely satisfied because they stopped playing the comparison game. Boomer Bill understood something that most people never do. Money is a tool, not a performance. Every dollar you spend trying to impress someone is a dollar that can no longer work for you. Invested wisely, that same dollar could grow, earn more dollars, and quietly buy something far more valuable than status. Freedom. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't to make strangers think you're rich. The goal is to build a life where you no longer need their approval. Let's do the math. Imagine two people. Larry earns $120,000 a year. Bill earns $75,000 a year. At first glance, Larry seems to be winning. But here's what really matters. Larry spends $115,000 every year. Bill spends just $45,000. That means Larry saves $5,000 a year. Bill saves $30,000. Now imagine they both do this for 20 years. Larry worked harder, earned more, looked richer, but Bill quietly invested 6 times more money every single year. That's the power of living below your means, because wealth isn't built by the size of your paycheck. It's built by the gap between what you earn and what you spend. The bigger that gap, the faster your freedom grows. And that's why the person driving the older car may actually be the one who can retire first. So the next time you're stopped at a traffic light and you see a brand new luxury car beside an old sedan, remember this. You're looking at 2 cars, not 2 bank accounts. Real wealth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it stays quiet. It keeps investing, it avoids unnecessary debt, and it buys something far more valuable than status: time, freedom, and peace of mind. So don't chase the appearance of wealth. Build the reality instead. Because one day, you'll realize the richest person in the room is usually the one with the least to prove.